Best. If you have somewhere you need to be at the end, I don't mean to hold you up. If you need to leave, by all means, don't worry about it. If you have questions during the presentation, ask them then. I'm not very formal, so just throw a hand up and I'll try and answer them as best I can. My name is Adam Salva, school counselor here at Monticello. I am the 11-month counselor. In case you haven't met some of the counselors, Mr. Johnson, he and Ms. Neal actually organized all of this night. So if you want to shake their hand later.
No.
All right, so things I want to point out. This data, if you're a senior, this is not necessarily a predictive, it's definitely not a predictive measure of whether you're going to get into a college. This is an opportunity for you to be informed about the competitiveness of your application. The schools you're applying to and how competitive they are, or you are in their admissions pool. Underclassmen, the idea is that you start planning. Know what classes you're taking, know how you get to that level of classes, so that you are able to, when you fill out your transcripts your senior year and you start to apply, you have an opportunity to say that you are ready and you are knowledgeable about what college wants of you and what you're going to present to them. Again, I want to inform you, not predictive. You will see some numbers on here like averages, modes of number of classes groups took. It's just a correlation. I'm not trying to say you have to take this in order to get a UVA. You'll see, or I'll say the average student that went to UVA last year took AP English, AP Government, and AP Science, another AP Science, an AP Math, and an AP Language. I'm not saying that that's the recipe to get in. That's a correlation of who did get in and the similar classes that they took. Okay? There are outliers. We'll get to some where you'll see the GPA that is way lower. And I'll show you the graph when we get to it, but there's GPAs that are way lower than the average or even the repeated grouping. The middle 50% will be drastically higher. Know that those outliers are results of a holistic process for admissions. They look at the application, they look at your test scores, your transcript, the classes you took, the grades you got in those classes, your teacher recommendations, your activities. The information they bring together is a very holistic process. Some schools do it really well. UVA, University of Richmond, William & Mary, they were very holistic. They were looking at everything. Some schools are really more by the numbers. Virginia Tech tends to be a very by the numbers school. They want to see, do you have the numbers or not? If you don't, they'll look maybe a little further, but really they're going to probably stop right there in the process. Okay. The basis for this information was 2 years ago I started a transcript analysis. I looked at every kid who got into UVA, William & Mary, JMU, and Virginia Tech. Those are the four schools that tend to get the largest stated interest from our students. Okay? I did a transcript analysis in 2013 of every kid who got accepted and rejected to those schools. And that transcript analysis was pretty much what class did they take, and then there's a few other things such as did they take fine arts, did they take CTE, to determine if really the argument, if you take too many band classes, it hurts your GPA, it hurts your chances of getting in. Or if you take too many art classes. And what we found was that didn't actually hurt you. Colleges like seeing a student who's experienced. They're not just one-dimensional. They're not just sitting in the classroom studying the core subjects all the time. They want to see that they're a little more worldly. Some like to call it the well-rounded college student. We've learned from a lot of admissions offices, they like seeing the well-rounded student body. So inside of a well-rounded student body, there's a lot of well-rounded kids. There's also a lot of pointy kids that fill in the gaps. Okay, and give their college a life, give them a unique perspective on the world and classrooms. So I want you to pay attention to that. I only looked at in-state schools. We don't have enough statistical, large enough pool to look at out-of-state, so I don't track it. I probably could in a few years over time, but it's just not something on a year-to-year basis. We have enough information for it. Some schools don't reply. George Mason has a secretive rule. They won't release the number of decisions. We have to find out for each individual kid. Some schools are really forthright. They'll give us all the information like JMU and UVA. So we have a little bit more information on those schools. And then the last thing I want to say, I am not a statistician. I have a degree in biological anthropology from JMU. Everyone should go to JMU. I loved it. It was a great institution. But I am not a statistician. My master's degree in counseling only gave me one math class over 6 years worth of college education. So my abilities are as far as Excel can take me, and a lot of playing with Excel over the last couple of years. Transcript analysis. You heard, how many people were in for Mr. Barron's talk earlier? A few? Okay, you heard him talk about the idea of the pinnacle class. It's the highest class that you can earn in a given subject area. So for us, that would be English. That's AP English language. That should be literature. It's 12th grade English. history would be AP government. The world languages would be any of the AP languages, whether it be AP Spanish, French, German. In sciences, AP biology, AP chemistry, AP physics, and then AP environmental. And we'll talk about the difference between AP environmental. And then in math, AP calculus AB, calculus BC, AP stats. And then I also include honors calculus and honors math analysis. Monticello has a unique sequence, the 4x4 hybrid. The difference, we are the only school in the county that allows students to double up on subjects in a year. So a student can take geometry and algebra 2 in the same year, get ahead of their counterparts as a Western or Albemarle, which is unique to us. One of the things you'll see in a little bit, when the pinnacle number of classes has gone up as a result of it. Our students from last year, 2013 graduates to 2014, took more pinnacle classes each year, and that's because they were in the 4x4 hybrid longer, and we also offered more AP classes in general. All right, so the data, again, wanted to say, not predictive. I don't want you to walk out of here and go, I took the right classes, I'm getting into UVA. That's not what I am saying. I'm saying, in order to be competitive, in order to compare yourself to previous classes, that's what this information is for. And I'm doing my best not to just read off the screen. I get a little nervous, I start talking fast. So if I do, someone can just kind of do like one of these, like calm me down gestures. Do want to emphasize again, admission decision is based on a compilation of information. A little bit of all of that factors in. Some schools put more weight on other things. Some schools put a weight on everything equally. Just depends from university to university how they do that. Some terminology. GPA is our grade point average. We're at 4.0 GPA. In the state of Virginia, we know of, there's 10-point scales, there's 5-point scales, there's 6-point scales. Each of those has their own different weight. And then inside of that, there are people who have there are schools that have a 10-point scale or a 7-point scale. So at one school, a 93 may be an A, and a 92 might be a B. In Monticello, both of those are an A. So what you'll find that a lot of times, while our GPAs are comparative with in-house, once they get to the college level, colleges will re-rank based on the letter grade so that everyone's on equal footing. Cumulative SAT, that is the critical reading, the math, and the writing score all added together. Not to be confused with the critical reading and the math score. There's a lot of research that shows the more you write on the writing SOL, the better you do, regardless of English classes you've taken, your vocabulary, your knowledge of writing skills, any of that stuff. The more words you write, the better you do. Part of the reason why the College Board is getting rid of or changing the writing portion of the SAT in a few years. You may hear about it more and more over the next couple of years. The middle 50% GPA range. That is the range if you lined up all the students who got accepted, you took out the top 25% and the bottom 25%. That middle 50% is considered the target. If you're in that, then it's a good chance that you're meeting the standard by which the college wants of us. If you're ahead of it, some people like to call that the safety school. It's a school that you think you've exceeded their qualifications. I will tell you, I don't like the term safety school or reach school. One, because it's very subjective, and kids get confused by it when someone says, this is my safety school, and someone else sitting next to them going, this is my reach or my target. I know different counselors have different perspectives about that, so I try not to say those terms, but you will occasionally hear it from your counselor. And the middle 50%, like I said, is the range by which we hope to meet. In years past, we found that the range gives us the best idea of what a college wanted from a senior class each year and then over the course of several years in a row. So we're hoping to start studying the ranges from 2013 forward. All right, total applicants per institution. Now on your slide, this is probably really grainy, gray. Unfortunately, we don't have a color printer that prints consistently enough. But it's always, the bar on the left is 2013 and the bar on the right is 2014. A couple things I do want to point out. Virginia Tech. 2013, they only had, I think, 22 applicants. All 22 got in. Okay, I would love to tell you that was phenomenal advising on behalf of the school counseling department. It may have been. It's also possibly just an anomaly by which the kids who applied felt that convinced the admissions office they were ready. Because in the next year, in 2014, we more than doubled. We were up in the 55. It rivaled JMU, which has historically been our largest applicant pool. JMU, on the other hand, went down. Last year it seemed to have established a bit of reputation as Monticello University. A lot of kids said, I don't want to go there. Too many Monticello kids already there. I want to be my own person. So the counseling office talked a lot of kids about that. JMU, again, great institution. But it's not for everyone. and recognizing that you don't want to just follow your friends, you don't want to follow a trend. If you want to be, find a unique place, every college has a unique niche for every type of student. So we want you to find that, and we'll talk about how we can find those. Some other trends, I want to point out, CNU almost doubled from 2013 to 2014 in total applicants. Longwood went down, and Richmond went down marginally. Everyone else more or less kept about the same trend. And then this next slide is going to be the admissions decisions. So see that the first bar is going to be the total that applied. The second bar is the total that were admitted. And then the third bar is 2014's total applied. And then the 14 admitted. So you'll see like Radford, right across the board. Everyone that applied last year got into Radford. Okay, that's the equal number to 2013's pool. William and Mary, no matter how many applied, they accepted 14 from us. Someone pointed out to me like maybe they just won 14. And as much as that might sound like a joke, it may be true. Colleges don't want to necessarily take every person from a school that applies. Okay, then for lots of reasons. Some of them are institutional. They have a policy as far as like quotas from certain areas of school or of the state. Some of it because they just don't think all of our kids are qualified. William Mary's went up marginally in the number of applicants, but again, they only took 14. And we'll talk about what the average William Mary student looked like. Virginia Tech, you'll see, while it doubled in applicants, it went up a little bit more, but it didn't double in admissions from year to year. And then CNU, that's the one that went up probably the second most as far as percentage of new applicants. And it took in a few more, but not double that.
I think, isn't that when they joined the Common App?
CNU? Yes.
So that makes it easier to apply to more schools. So I think that might account for our big jump in numbers.
Absolutely, it could account for a larger number. Now, Virginia Tech does not have a Common App. They're a unique application. A year ago, I was in the same room on the same event, possibly guessing, I think, that Virginia Tech, because it has its own application and because it has an early decision, that you don't do the early pool, so that knocks out some of our students, and they find out from other institutions and they then don't apply a regular decision. And that it has its own unique application, so kids don't want to fill out another unique application as to why those numbers were low. However, last year proved me wrong. We drastically went up. You have any questions? Admissions totals by comparison. This is 2013. You don't need to pay too much attention to this, only in the sense of I want you to see 13 compared to 14. Again, I want to point out, Virginia Tech, because it went up so much, the selection pool, the pool got so much deeper, the standards went up more drastically more than at Virginia Tech for a Monticello student than they did anywhere else in the state. So the average kid, the GPA went up more marginally than any other school. For SAT, GPA, the number of clinical subjects, and that's because they had a larger selection to choose from. Deeper the pool, tougher it is to get into. All right, so this is a profile. I hope you can read it on your page. If you can, I hope you can see it a little bit up here. These are averages. Now, I want to strongly encourage you, we don't do decile anymore. Everyone knows the county has decided to eliminate decile rank from its repertoire of ways of describing students. So I only include that because historically that's been there. After this year, we'll stop calculating decile and we'll stop recognizing it in the factor. Weighted GPA, that is an average across the board. So again, outliers do exist. You do have this person right here, all the way out there like a 4.23 and under a 1200 SAT. You can hypothesize why, a lot of reasons why they might have got in. Maybe they had a special needs talent. Maybe they had a parent who worked at UVA. Maybe they had they were a football recruit. Okay, those are parts of the application that colleges take into consideration. So those outliers do exist. I don't want someone to look at it and go, well, that person got in with 4.23, and so will I. Okay, there's whatever they presented is unique. This is really the range that we're looking at out here. And I also want you to pay attention to where the y-axis starts. It starts at 800. Okay, we've had a few kids look at that and go, oh, I'm close, and they don't realize that I'm cutting out a large chunk of the school's SATs. Also, GPA, the x-axis, starts at a 4.2. We didn't have anyone that got into UVA that had less than a 4.2 last year. So the average student profile for UVA, GPA is 4.55. Middle 50% range was a 4.491 to a 4.6. Okay, that's first decile, second decile, a smidgen, really just the line between second and third decile.
Excuse me, can I clarify, these are students from?
Only Monticello, yes ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And this is just the 2014 graduates. I'm not in fact comparing them to 2013. So, kids who got in, by and large, took AP English for their math. They took a college level math of honors calculus or higher. Honors math analysis, while being considered a college math as pre-calculus, it was not kids jumped over that. They got on to something, another math class further than that. Sciences, honors physics, by and large, every kid who got in took it. It was like 87% of the kids who got into UVA took honors physics. Honors physics is now AP Physics 1. Albemarle County got rid of honors physics when the College Board changed the curriculum for AP Physics. So now what used to be honors physics is now AP Physics 1, and what used to be AP Physics is now AP Physics 2 at Monticello. Okay.
Question,
Yes.
how does that affect the kids that took it on their transcript? Is it still labeled as honors physics? So if they took it like 2 years ago?
It is still labeled as honors physics, yes, ma'am. Yeah. We have a school profile that mentions the difference, that we changed, that the county as a whole changed that. Social science, AP government, and then world language. Most students that got into UVA took an AP world language. Average number of pinnacle classes, 5.89. Obviously, you can't take a 0.89 class. So that is really a 6. You're taking 6 pinnacle courses. So your 4 core classes, a world language, and very often another math or another science. Okay, that's where you're getting those other courses. William & Mary, arguably our most selective institution in the state of Virginia, certainly as a public school. We have a smaller pool that applies to William & Mary. Our range for getting in was a 4.61 to a 4.64. It's a very small range, that middle 50%. Again, there are outliers on both sides of that, but really, William & Mary is the highest, most selective university of Monticello students in the state. Go back to this graph. You see the one outlier. He was a 4.458, I believe, GPA. Had a strong SAT of 1400 and was an early decision applicant. We have evidence that says the early decision at William & Mary is easier to get into than regular decision. The difference being early decision is binding. If you get in there, you have to go. And that's without seeing your financial aid. So that's a very strong consideration for a lot of families. You don't want to commit to an early decision and then find out they gave you no money and you're locked into going to that option. Or you possibly missed out on something else that you could have gone to. Again, similar courses, AP English. For their math, honors calculus was not far enough. They wanted AP calculus or AP stats. Science, honors physics again, AP biology, AP chemistry, and AP physics. AP environmental science. One kid out of all the kids who got into William & Mary took AP environmental science. It's not a large enough pool to say it matters or it doesn't matter, but it wasn't something that factored in heavily to a lot of kids' transcripts. Similar social science and world language, and then the 5.93 for average pinnacle subjects. JMU, this year JMU went down a little bit. Last year their average GPA was higher. Their average SAT was marginally higher. In 2013, graduates in 2014. They have a wider spread. You'll see the GPA dips down as far as the 3.8. And then the SATs, there are some in just right at the 900 level. Those students generally have relied on something else, what be it essay, recommendations, that spoke very highly of them, an explanation as to why they may not have done well. Maybe they got sick during their high school career and had a bad sophomore year. This is a little lower than what we saw the last 2 years from JMU. They are growing. JMU is currently at 18,500. They're trying to be 20,000. They believe that's the perfect number for them. So it's possible they're letting more kids in that are on the margins that may not have gotten in 3 years ago and may not get in 3 years if there's any freshmen in the room. But these were the 2014 numbers.
Question on the previous slide. So if I'm looking at the cumulative SAT averages, help me translate what I'm looking at. Looks like 1545
pretty much you can get in with that score.
Well, I don't want to be quoted to say pretty much you can get in.
But that's kind of what they took.
Uh-huh.
All right, so why is the denied number higher than the wait number?
I don't have a good answer for that. Potentially, it's the other parts of the application. Maybe their SAT was high, but they did nothing else in high school, so they couldn't account for what they did from 3:50 until 8:50 in the morning.
I noticed that on the UVA one too, so I was just curious. Okay.
I don't have a good answer for that. If you want, I'll show you the full spreadsheet. We can find out outliers and figure out what that is. Oh, yeah. Afterwards, I'm going to ask you questions to see if you remember. Virginia Tech. Okay, their numbers are a little bit different. We talked about earlier how 2013 they didn't have anybody who got denied. So that's a bit of an anomaly. It's rare we have a college of selective nature where we got everybody in. I can't really explain it. Like I said, I joke to say that we did a great job in the counseling office. I think it's just a reflection of really good kids who happen to apply all at once. But you'll see with Virginia Tech, you kind of have two groupings. You have that 4.4 and above GPA that kind of all worked out. And then you have a little bit around the 4.1 area. I want to encourage you to recognize Virginia Tech has a unique aspect about its engineering program. As one of the original land grant institutions in the state, its engineering program is its bread and butter. A lot of people, when they think Virginia Tech, they think engineering. As a result, Virginia Tech's engineering program is harder than the rest of Virginia Tech to get into. But when they report to us, they don't tell us who's in engineering, who's anything else. So they show up as just a part of the general admissions. So while you see that there's kind of two separate spreads of GPA and SAT scores, if you're applying to the engineering, know that it's tougher. It's a deeper pool and it's harder to get into. The GPA requirements are higher. They want to see an SAT 2. They want to see physics. They want to see calculus. AP physics, not honors physics, if you took honors physics 2 years ago. Whereas if you're doing the general admission, it's very comparable to JMU. JMU doesn't have that one program that has a higher GPA requirement, so JMU tends to be a little more of a bubble of GPAs, whereas Tech kind of separates it a little bit. Profile for Virginia Tech, similar to JMU. It is marginally higher GPA, and again, I talked about why. AP English, honors calculus or higher, science, honors physics, or the AP sciences, and that includes AP environmental science, social science, AP government, and then a fourth year of a language. Don't necessarily have to be in the AP level of language in order to have a good chance with Virginia Tech. Average number of clinical subjects, 5.88 for Monticello. So this is a comparison of average pinnacle subjects per institution for accepted kids. And every one of them, the top number is 2013, the bottom number is 2014. And every one of them, we went up. Virginia Tech went up the largest. JMU, I think, was the smallest gain. They are all a mode of a 6. On average, the mode for accepted kids was 6 pinnacle subjects. So again, that's your 4 core classes, a world language, and then doubled up in math or science. We don't consider AP psychology in that pinnacle because it's kind of a unique class, although there is a lot of evidence that there's a lot of AP psychology being taken at Monticello by the students who are accepted at all 4 universities. Questions? All right, these next few are, I'll just run through them quickly. These are other institutions in the state of Virginia. University of Richmond, private national liberal arts university in suburbs of West End, Richmond. Small pool of applicants. They are generally a very selective institution in the state, 4.5 average GPA. Now they do kind of spread out, but like I said, we only have 6 get in last year. So that is not really a large pool to make a lot of inferences from. Richmond does cost $52,000 a year. They have really good financial aid. If you make under $60,000, they guarantee that they'll pay for it for you to go to college, as long as you can get in. So it does have some perks. They are trying to grow their diversity, whether it be racial, economic, geographic. They generally pull a lot from Virginia, DC, and then the Northeast. They joke that they like to think of themselves as an Ivy of the South. That's probably a stretch, in all honesty. But they are a very strong institution, great for students. And if you're considering an Ivy League school, I would really encourage you to look at University of Richmond. It's a comparable student body in a lot of ways. Old Dominion, public institution down in Norfolk. We didn't have anyone get on a wait list. I don't even know if Old Dominion has a wait list. We didn't, none of our students were, and you'll see the decile, the kids who didn't get into Old Dominion, they didn't report their SAT, but they were in the 10th decile. The 10th decile is the bottom 10% of our senior class. The student at the bottom 10%, I would speculate, is probably not prepared for college. I would recommend if they really want to go away, they should invest in the community college system, get their feet wet, get a little experience before they invest a large sum of money in a 4-year institution. I think we only had 1 or 2 get it done to Old Dominion. Both of them were from the 10th. Radford, you can see the numbers. We only had kids get admitted to Radford. We did have 4 students who didn't report their SAT scores, so that's, you'll see that it's a limited graph, not much to show for that. Christopher Newport, the up-and-coming College of Virginia. In 1999, when I graduated high school, Christopher Newport was a bit of a small, I hope nobody went to Christopher Newport. It was small, it was, if there's anything, it was your safety school. They were letting everybody in 1999. Somewhere in the early 2000s, Paul Tribble is their president. He came to them. He's a motivational speaker. Apparently being a motivational speaker helps you to motivate people to spend money, because the state of Virginia has invested more at Christopher Newport in pure just tax dollars going to the university than any other public school in the state, percentage-wise per students. Everything's new at Christopher Newport, everything. They don't have an old building anymore. They've torn it down, they've rebuilt something new. So if you like that feel, you like new, you like modern, Christopher Newport's a great place. It's a great institution if you don't, you just want to go to a school with roughly 4,500 students. But it was a large jump in its average GPA. When I came here to Monticello 7 years ago, we could get 3.1, 3.2 in easily. Christopher Newport. Now you see the average is a 4, and there's a large chunk of kids well into the mid-4s. Okay. Longwood, medium-sized, again about 4,000 undergraduates. Farmville, Virginia, small pool to apply. A lot of kids forget about Longwood. It's a great institution if you want to go and education. It's good for the fine arts. They give a lot of student experience. They don't have much or any grad programs outside of the fine arts, so you're not being taught by TAs. They have one of the newest nursing programs. Mary Washington's going to beat it next year, but they have one of the newest programs in nursing in the state, and they were trying to grow that. So we had a lot of students who were interested in nursing, didn't want to go to couldn't get into maybe a UVA or a JMU, didn't want to go to a large scale like VCU or Radford. Longwood does offer a good opportunity in that area. These are the ranges. Now, on the left, you'll see by the institution, the total number of applicants, and then the range by which all admitted students fit into. This is not the middle 50%, this is everyone. So you might see one outlier might drag that range way out. So I want to caution you, don't read into that range and think, oh, I'll get in because I'm just inside it. It might be one outlier pulling that window pretty wide. And then if you want information, just because I always give a plug for College Board, the College Board provides one of the largest objective sources of information, whether it be GPA, SAT from the institution. The objective information on there is vetted. It's good information. Mr. Barron presented several others earlier during his presentation. But I like what the College Board because it's very student friendly. It's easy to navigate the website. I will tell you, anything that's subjective, any video of a kid saying they love their experience somewhere, take it with a grain of salt. Nobody puts a video saying something sucked. They don't. So just be aware, we've had parents come in and go, everyone loved it, I saw the videos. That's by design. But College Board is a great place for objective information. All right, so again, how to use this data. It is not predictive. Don't walk out of here and tell your son or daughter, I don't want Jay to walk out going, I'm never going to get to UVA because I didn't take AP language yet. It's okay, you got time to build your transcript up, and you probably will based on the track you're doing. But it's a holistic process. The entire admissions process is multifaceted. The application, the resume the kid presents, the rigor of classes, the test scores, all the information factors in. Some schools are growing, some schools are shrinking, some schools are targeting certain populations. Sometimes when what you major in hurts you or helps you. If you're doing engineering at Virginia Tech, you're in a deep pool. You could hurt yourself. You could hurt yourself by declaring engineering. You might be better off considering undergraduate to do physics. for a semester or a year and then try and get an engineering program, because you might be in a more shallower pool than you would in engineering. Whereas if you're, say, want to go to Longwood and you put nursing, they're trying to grow their program, they might be willing to take a marginal chance with you. If you're not quite there yet, they might be willing to say, hey, we want to grow this program, we want that kid because he shows close enough to what we want that we feel we can take a chance. Again, trends may exist, but know that outliers also exist. There are kids who break every mold. All of you have a kid who's unique. Every kid in the room right here is unique. You present different qualities to colleges. Some of them are very desirable, some of them are not, unfortunately. So make sure when you present your application that you're putting forth your best image of yourself. Again, this is the same slide as from before. Seniors, use this to determine your competitiveness. Okay, I'm not telling you you're going to get in, I'm not telling you you're not going to get in. If your heart is in the school and you know that you want to go there, apply. Regardless of whatever I've told you, this is not going to determine if you're going to get in. If you think you're on the bubble, if you think you're out of the window that's going to get in, contact their admissions office. Get in their face, go meet them, interview, write the essays, write letters, write thank you cards for seeing you when you did the interviews. Do everything you can to advertise for yourself that you're interested. And then underclassmen, planning. Mr. Barron said taking those challenging courses earlier. I strongly encourage you to take the most challenging courses available and appropriate for your kid. Don't just load up on APs. Be very wise about it. If you're not good in the sciences, don't jump into AP Biology and AP Chemistry in the same year just to try and get another clinical subject. Because ultimately, probably more than likely, both of them suffer along with the rest of your classes. Be very calculated about what you want to take. In the freshman year, knowing what science you're in now can help determine what science you get to during your senior year. And I don't think I have any freshmen in the room right now, do I? Okay, so I'll stop talking about freshmen. Be very conscious though about what you're signing up for, how you're planning your high school career. If you want to make a big splash and suddenly you go from 1 AP to 6 in your junior year, which we have kids who do that from time to time, know that the workload is going to increase. Know that your kid may come home with tears in their eyes one day going, I can't do this. Okay, that's normal, that's reasonable. But it also means they signed up for it, they're in it. If they pull out of it at this time of the year, they take a W on their transcript, a withdrawal. You will have to explain a withdrawal. In a competitive college where the GPAs are in the 4s, you're going to have to explain why you withdrew from a class. Because it might reflect that you couldn't do the work, that you couldn't balance a rigorous course load at the time. Also, it might reflect that maybe you got mono and you had to take some time off from school and you just couldn't catch up. Counselors are great at helping to mitigate those circumstances, talk about it, but be very conscious in the decision of what you sign up for. College planning starts earlier and earlier all the time. A lot of college planning starts in middle school. Okay, I know all of you are in high school, clearly that doesn't help you at this point. But if you have a middle school friend, if you have a middle school child, tell them it starts early. Every year it gets a little bit earlier. And some of the decisions that the county has made are making it tougher to get through certain subjects. 5 years ago, we didn't have honors trigonometry in the way between from Algebra 2 to pre-calculus. Okay? When the county went to the 4x4, we created that class because it was an argument that we needed to have more math classes. Now it's proven that some kids get stuck there because they have to double up 2 years in a row and they want to take other classes. They don't want to just spend their whole high school years doing math. Okay? Regular meetings with your school counselor. If you don't attend your meeting with your school counselor in the spring, it's very hard to stay informed about what your kid is taking. Okay? Make sure that you contact your counselor, be involved, be active in that process. It's not just a tacit consent. Your kids, just because they attend Monticello, will always take the best classes. Kids have a great way of coming into our meetings, and they'll argue for some things, and they'll argue for others, and you think, we as counselors will try and talk them into the most appropriate, but sometimes you being in the room helps to keep that push going, as well as when they come home and they say what they signed up for, you're informed as parents. Questions? Anything? I appreciate you all coming out. 5 minutes over.